If you want to learn how to float those high pitches when you sing soprano arias, this is the video for you. Okay, the first thing that is very important to know is that the higher you sing, the less air you're going to need. You have to really take your support to the next level, because what you have to do is basically hold on to as much air as you possibly can to let out a very little air. What you don't want is like, you don't want to make it heavy. You don't want to push outward. It's the principle of inhalare la voce, which almost feels like you're inhaling instead of exhaling. And I could hang out on one of those top pitches for a really, really, really long time. So instead of like, which I don't want to do for a long time because it's very, very, very straining, not good for the voice. I want to think very focused, narrow, dense. Narrow in the sense of narrow airstream, like a laser, not wide. Go intense when it comes to the air, the pressure of the airstream. Element number 2 is you have to create space, and that can't be done by just using the jaw and open more and more. What you need is a baseline opening and then focus on the vertical space that is happening on the inside, mostly really in the back of your throat, but then this will also be expressed by the position of the tongue, which when you're doing an open vowel, like an ah, like in this case, it just also happens, when you lift the soft palate and really create a lot of pharyngeal space, like a lot of vertical space there, like a round space, and the tongue will also get out of the way. So instead of like, which then I'm choking myself off basically. What I want to do instead is relax the jaw, and I always have to move away from the microphone when I do this. Relax the jaw, have that baseline opening, don't lock. So when I change pitches, I don't really need to do a lot here. What is happening is like, and what I want to focus on, always placing the resonance in the same place. I don't want it to go like up and down, forward, back. I always want to have a upward and forward placement, so there's bright overtones. We don't want to get dark and heavy. That just doesn't work for high pitches. You have to think very bright, not narrow. It's not the same. So a good exercise to do that is really to start like with a light onset, like if you hear a lot of too much air, too much pressure outward, you're not keeping it inward. You're not inhalare la voce. You're not compressing here. You're pushing outward. That does not work. Also, if you're too narrow, like it doesn't work. Don't press. You want to work with your support. You want to keep that perfect equilibrium of perfectly closed vocal cords and giving it just enough air for the vocal cords to vibrate at that frequency. They need to be quite stretched, quite close together, and your support gives it exactly the right pressure from the air that comes. And then when you have that perfect equilibrium and also that onset, you focus on preparation. I always prepare at least like 2 seconds ahead of time. I actually inhale, and then I kind of hold it just for a second. When I do have the time, it's like, I'm prepared. Now I'm waiting for the orchestra to time it perfectly. And in this case, I didn't have a conductor, which is a little hard then to get the onset when it's just coming from a tape and you're not used to it. And then you hang out up there for just a second and it's like, see, everything's in place. I'm getting ready. Everything's already shaped like it needs to before I start. If you wait until you start, it's too late. If you go like, it doesn't work. You have to have it in place before, and then you get light. Another thing that's very important, you don't want to cover with your lips. You don't go, no tense lips. no tense lips. Think upward and forward. You don't want to spread sideways, but you do want to think not cover. Ah. It's not ah. It's also not ah. It's ah. It's almost like a very tiny smile. Very tiny smile. Not sideways, but it's almost like up. It's like, oh. Oh. Okay? You do this, and your high pitches will float. Easier said than done, I know that. But keep practicing like that, and you'll do a good job. If you're interested in learning more about opera, check out my course. The link is below, starting soon, and I hope to see you on the inside. Always keep on singing and always keep a song in your heart. 3 things you need to know when you sing a lot professionally as a soloist. Number 1, you have to have an intentional warm-up. So if you're going to have a gig where you have to sing 5 hours, a lot of sets, where it's just mainly you, or maybe you're accompanying yourself with a piano